might be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, first off, sorry for the low quality. I know we are having to go back to picture overlays just for a little bit. I know if y'all are an OG Fantasy Flock Network fan, if y'all have been here since the beginning, this is going to be familiar for y'all. I'm pretty sure our first 50 videos had pictures just like this, but laptop just broke. Gonna get it fixed. Right now I'm having to use a replacement, and the quality on the camera is just too low. It just looks horrible, so we're gonna have to deal with this for now. But let's get into the video, and we are going to talk about a couple ways that you can make your Dynasty Fantasy Football League better. Not only if you already have a current existing league, you're gonna be able to add some of these changes. Obviously, you're not going to be able to change anything drastic just because of what it will do with player value and how it will skew the balance of the league. But this is great for starting new leagues. I know we're halfway through the offseason, not even halfway through the offseason, so there will be new leagues starting up pretty much every single week from here on out, especially our new flock leagues. If you wanted a flock league, as always, join the Discord below and shoot me a direct message. But let's start getting into these new aspects of league dynamics that you can either implement in your current existing league or you can decide to use in a league that you join today. So first off, this is kind of a requirement at this point in any current leagues. I've never seen at least I haven't seen in probably a year, a one quarterback league be started. So you have to make your league Superflex. If you're already in a league and it's a one quarterback league, it will be hard to convert to Superflex. I've heard the argument that it's unfair to do it. I think the only fair way you can is if you make a league vote right now, and if the league vote passes, it can't be implemented right away. You have to have a timetable for it. I would say a fair timetable would be the beginning of the 2021 season. That's when the league will turn Superflex. But for any current startup, I mean, if you're starting a league right now and you're making it a one quarterback league, guys, I don't know what else to tell you. Superflex just adds a completely new dynamic. The most underrated part of Superflex, in my opinion, is what it does for the rookie drafts. I know if you're in a one quarterback league rookie draft like I was back in 2014, I mean, once you get outside of the first 20 picks, you're looking at a bunch of long shots. But with Superflex, just because it pushes up a bunch of quarterbacks up the board, just imagine for this year. This year we have Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. All of those players are fantasy relevant. So that's 5 more guys that are going in the second round or earlier of your Dynasty Superflex League. So it's going to push down those wide receivers and running backs and makes your rookie draft just so much deeper. And at the same time, if Superflex quarterbacks have value in your league, then you just have more assets to trade with. I know it's a lot harder to get a trade done in a one quarterback league because really you're just flip-flopping back and forth with running backs and wide receivers, and you're just trying to win over the other owner with value, whereas in a Superflex league, it just creates a completely new dynamic where it can actually be more beneficial for both teams because it adds a completely new wrinkle that a one quarterback league does not exist. Now, our next thing is you're going to need to add more starting lineup spots and add more roster spots. Now, I cannot stress this enough. I played, back when I first started playing Dynasty, back in 2014, I played in a league that had 25 roster spots, and you had to start a kicker and a defense, and you only started up to 9 players. Now, that league is extremely boring because if you have a league set up like that, then you are pretty much just constantly trying to trade for best player available. You're constantly trying to trade 3 players for one, just because you know if you trade 3 guys to get a CMC, you're going to be able to go to the waiver wire and pick up 2 guys that are not really contributors, but they're definitely relevant and definitely on the Dynasty radar, whereas most leagues I play in now are either best ball, so they're extra deep, or you have to start up to 13 guys. And that league is just so much more interesting because you really have to try to sit there and evaluate every player in every aspect of your team, especially when you have deeper rosters and you're not going to be able to go to the waiver wire and pick up a player just to replace the depth that you're trading away. So you can't necessarily look at a trade and say, oh, you're getting the best player, to smash accept. No, you have to really understand what it does for your starting lineup and what it does for your roster dynamic. Now, I know when you're adding more starting lineup spots, you have to question, oh, am I going to add more wide receivers? Am I going to add more running backs? And my recommendation is to add more flex spots. Just because the more flex spots you have, the more you allow owners to really build their team the way you want. If I want to be able to roster 8 to 12 wide receivers and I want to be able to start 6 to 7 of them every single week, I think that I should be able to if that's the roster construction that I want. Yet if you have a league where you're being forced to start 3 running backs and 4 wide receivers, really that limits what you're able to do from a flexibility standpoint. Everyone's roster is going to kind of look the same just because they're going to have to be filling the same exact starting lineup. Whereas the more flex spots you have, the more interesting rosters you see. I'm in a league that is actually a points per carry league, and we have, I believe, 7 flex spots. And it's hilarious looking at my roster because I have about 2 or 3 wide receivers and about 20 running backs. It's such an interesting dynamic that you can create, and really it just allows rosters and teams in the league to be customizable, which they should be able to because we're not trying to build cookie cutter teams out here. Now, both of these aspects can be added to existing leagues pretty easily, in my opinion. I think that you really don't even have to wait that long. You don't have to wait a year like you would with the Superflex League if you decide to add just one starting spot. I mean, maybe if you want to add multiple, say you want to add 2 starting lineup spots, you want to add a wide receiver and add a flex spot, maybe you decide to implement the flex spot in 2020 and then decide to wait a year for 2021 to implement the wide receiver position. But that's what would my recommendation be when it comes to starting lineups and roster size. I prefer my roster sizes to be around 40 players just so the waiver wires are completely thin. And that's my next thing. Guys, if you're in a league that is that deep, I recommend just having no waiver wire. And I know that's hilarious to say. I know some people love to churn the bottom of their rosters, but my argument for this is I would much rather have what we have in the flock leagues, where in the flock leagues, there is no waiver wire throughout the year, yet we have an 8-round draft every year. That's a rookie and veteran draft. So really, I would imagine about 3 or 4 of those rounds are going to be of rookie relevant players. And then the next 4 rounds are going to be rounds that you can really churn the bottom of your roster. And this makes sure that you're not able to just blow up your roster completely. You really have to go in there, and when you trade or draft a player, you have to make that long-term investment because it's not going to be so easy to just get rid of that player. And I really love that aspect of a league. Now let's talk about one more aspect that's in the flock leagues that I really enjoy, and this is best ball. Now I know my 2 least favorite parts of fantasy football are waivers and setting a starting lineup. I know some people will argue that there's skill in setting a starting lineup. I'm not necessarily going to argue against that. I think a lot of it is variance and a lot of it is luck, but there's definitely a skill component involved. Whereas with waivers, in my opinion, it's just whoever has the most time on their hands is rewarded with the waiver wire. But best ball really allows you to get into more leagues. You don't have to worry about just starting a lineup every single week. You can go in there, draft when you want to. I'm sorry, not draft when you want to. You have to draft in the rookie draft, and you can go out there and trade when you want to. And if you need a player, you're going to have to go out there and trade and really look for a partner. And this is going to increase the activity of the leagues. Now, let's get into something that everyone loves to talk about for about 1 to 2 weeks of the season, right at the very end, when we have all of these star-studded teams losing in the semifinals or losing in the championship of their playoffs and complaining that, oh my gosh, look at my roster, look how good this team was. I got so unlucky this 1 week. Guys, feel sorry for me. First off, nobody really feels sorry for you. You don't need to put it on Twitter. I mean, shitty that it happened, but it did. Nobody needs to feel your pain. Now, let's talk about how we can kind of avoid this. And how I implement it in the flock leagues is there is a very flat payout structure. I know a lot of people love to do about 75% of the pot goes to first place, about 25% of the pot goes to second place. Maybe third place gets their money back if they decide to take a little bit more away from first place. But how I like to do it in the flock leagues is I like a very flat payout structure. How we actually do it is we have a $60 yearly buy-in, and first place gets $300, second place gets $200, third place gets $100, and whoever scored the most points in the regular season actually just gets their money back. That way, if the regular season champ gets unlucky round 1 or round 2 of the playoffs, he doesn't have to worry. He's going to get his dues back. So I really like having a flat payout structure. I feel like it really rewards the teams that are really good throughout the entire season, not just in the playoffs. Now, let's talk about another way to reward teams that are really built solid and are good throughout the regular season, and this is with double headers. And if you don't know what double headers are, It is a setting that you can implement when scheduling your league, and this is where you play every single team in the league twice. That's how we have it set up in the flock leagues. And what this will mean is some weeks, instead of just having one matchup, you will have two matchups. Obviously, you're still only submitting one lineup, but you're going up against two different teams, and this is really going to help you avoid the, oh, look, I was the third highest scoring team in my league, but I went up against the first highest scoring team in my league. Damn, I'm unlucky. Guys, with this setting, it really evens out, just because over the long scheme of things, if you're playing every single owner twice, you're going to have 24 matchups, and the variance is going to be, you're going to have 22 matchups, and the variance is going to be a lot lower than it is with single matchups. Now, lastly, another way to avoid the lucky teams really benefiting and the unlucky good teams missing out, this is getting the first 5 seeds of your playoffs due to record, and then your last seed, instead of looking at the record of the teams, you look at whoever has the most points that did not make the playoffs. Pretty much every single league I play in does this format. It really helps avoid the variance of the structure and really rewards the good teams that were built throughout the season. But thanks so much, guys. I feel like a lot of these can easily be implemented in your Dynasty League. Obviously, some of them are going to have to be implemented through a startup draft, but hope this helps. Hope this makes your league more fun. And yeah, have a great day.